So this is the spreadsheet I made that I use to track my mileage and my income. It breaks down all of my numbers for me. But because I'm constantly like accused of lying or making things up, truth be told, anyone can put numbers in here, right? Anyone can do that. So what I like to do first is I like to actually show you directly from the app what's going on. So this is the Lyft app. It's being directly through my phone, right? I can scroll up and down. It's not a Photoshop. And my income. So this bit over here, $694 is part of April. So you add that 694 to this $4,925. That gives me 5,000 and change, right? Which over here it's 5,995, and that's also because I have my Uber income included here. So we can let's take a look for a second. So week 1, I made $694 with Lyft. Week 2, $1,534. Week 3, $1,659. Week 4, $1,213. And week 5, which is currently this week, which is technically not the end of the Lyft week, but the end of the calendar week, I've made $518. Pretty good. And I say pretty good because I've only been driving on weekends. I have become a weekend warrior. I'm not going to lie. The closer I get to becoming debt free and the longer I've been a rideshare driver is the less I want to be a rideshare driver. I'm so done with Uber and Lyft. And as you can see, the money can be good. It's just not what I want to be doing with my life. But there you can see, clearly mostly just driving on weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, $1,200 just for those 3 days. Again here, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with a little bit on Monday, $1,600. So it's been good. It has been good. And I have other things going on personally. I'm about to have a baby. Well, not me, my wife. And so there's been events and things like that that have come up that I've had to give my attention. And so I haven't been able to dedicate all my time to driving. And even when baby girl gets here, it's nice to know that I can make a solid chunk of money focusing on weekends. But there's the proof. So let's jump on over to my spreadsheet. And if you want access to the spreadsheet, you can get it too. It's in the description. I think it's the first link that's down there. So back to the spreadsheet, I'll quickly explain what's happening here for anyone who's interested. The best mileage tracker that I found that I'm consistent with is one where I'm putting in the mileage myself. I've tried those other trackers and having to review all of your personal or business mileage, and it was too much. It was never accurate, and I never remembered to do it. And when I remembered to do it, it was too much. And then no. So before I start my shift, I put my mileage in. I go to where I'm going to start driving, put my mileage in again. Then when I'm done driving for the day, I put my mileage in, and then I drive back home and I put my mileage in. That's how I track it. That's how you're supposed to track it according to the IRS. They want to know what's personal and what's business, especially if you're using a car that has business purposes and personal purposes. If you're just using your car and it's only for business, then you don't have to separate the different types, but they're going to want to see if you have a second car that is for personal or that is for business. So keep that in mind. But here it is, all of the proof. I live about 20 miles from where I like to start. So I do rack up quite a bit personal. Up here in the top above the mileage, you can see my starting mileage for the month was 118,000. My ending mileage was 120,000. My business mileage was 1,752. My personal mileage was 703. So pretty good. My total income for the month, not including the cash, I didn't put the cash on here, was $5,945. Sorry, misspoke. $5,995.45. I drove a total of 125 hours and 5 minutes, which comes out to $47.93 per hour. It's pretty good. My mileage was 1,752. My per mile income, this is gross, not including expenses, is $3.42. Now, what I like about this tracker that I made, so of course I'm going to like it, is that it also tracks my expenses. My expenses was $333.22, and I'll show you the breakdown for that in a second. My expenses per hour, which a lot of people have no idea what their expenses per hour are, for them to subtract it from their expenses, their gross expenses. So I'm happy this tracker has it, is $2.66. That works out to per mile, 19 cents in expenses per mile driven. Now I made this tracker because I got tired of people coming into my comments saying, after you subtract all of your expenses, you make less than minimum wage. That could be true for you, but that is not true for me. And this tracker shows it. So let's zoom out a little bit here and look at the expenses. My gas expense total for the month, $171.39. That's a per hour expense of $1.37. Car wash is $20. 16 cents. Insurance, $141.83. It's just $1.13 per hour. So like, this is it. These are my only expenses right now because my car is paid off. I know you're probably looking for my car payment, but my car is paid off. I just have my monthly car wash subscription and my insurance. I didn't have to get an oil change this month. And when I do get them, I do them myself. So it's very cheap. But I'm not driving a lot of mileage these days. I figured out new strategies that has increased my earnings per mile. And we'll touch a little bit on that in a second. But my per mile gross income is $3.42. So what does that look like net? So on this side of the tracker, I have a section that gives me an estimate on my taxes. So my mileage write-off based off of how many miles I'm driving. And this is actually like supposed to be for 70 cents. I haven't updated it for this year. This is based off of last year's mileage write-off. My write-off is $1,173.84. So that brings my taxable income down to $4,821. I put 15% as the tax rate. It's just an estimate. So my estimated taxes is $723.24. So you have my gross income, right? Let's go here. You have gross income, which is, where is it? So gross income of $5,995.45 subtracted by my tax burden, $723.24, brings my true hourly down to $39.49. So after everything is said and done, my income, and then you subtract my expenses, and you subtract my taxes, my per hour income, this is what I'm coming home with in my pocket. My true hourly is $39.49. I think that's pretty good. I have a 2013 Toyota Prius. I paid $12,000 for it. Very cheap car. And I'm able to make $40 per hour in my market. Now, the next thing that is commonly complained about by my viewers is that it's my market, not me. So in order to combat that, the idea that it's my market and nothing that Tristan is doing to find success in his market, I like to use this app called the Solo app. You can get it below, and it shows you how much other drivers in my market, my same exact market, are averaging. This is from last week. You can see it right here. The Charleston average from my market is $22.68. Last week, Tristan Thomas, made $43.87 per hour. That's almost double. I'm making almost double what other drivers are making in my market. Now, I want to be clear. Does your market matter? Yes. But you know what matters more than your market? You. Especially if you're looking at this app and this app is showing you, hey, here's what other drivers in your market are making. You can then use that as a test to see where you stand. If you're making below what other drivers are making, you're the problem. If you're making the average, I would venture to say that there's probably something you can do to make more money. So it's very important that you know how much other drivers in your market are making before you open up your mouth and you say that my market is the problem. Something I do in my life, which has been very, very, very helpful, is I focus on the internals. I focus on what I have control over before I start to see what I can do about the externals. If you focus on what you have control over, you will find solutions faster than waiting for the external things to happen. So I apply that to almost everything that I do. I apply it to Rideshare. Anytime Lyft makes a change or Uber makes a change, I'm on top of it. I'm playing with it to figure out how can I incorporate this into my plan in order to make more money. And I recently shared how Lyft's new point system has enabled me to increase my income. And I want to be clear, it's becoming harder to make the same amount of money I was making before, but because I'm constantly testing and retesting new ideas, I'm able to figure out ways that boost my income. So I was recently talking to a group of other drivers on Twitter, X, I don't know what we're calling it. I'm going to call it Twitter. And I want to play a recording of my contribution to that space. The space is called the Driver Coast to Coast app, not app, but Drivers Coast to Coast. It's right here. And I was asked a question by one of the co-hosts, and I'm going to play it because I think there's some valuable information in there for you that I really want you guys to listen to.
Hey, while we're waiting on the people to tell us their rides of the week, Tristan and I have a couple questions
Slow it down.
for you.
Sure.
So I saw where you just absolutely just crushed everything over the past week. How did you do that screenshot that you put up? I don't remember exactly. I think it was the one where you'd done the 60, maybe 3 rides, but you only went 61 miles.
Okay, so this is what she's talking about. She's talking about a night where I did 63 rides in one night, and my book miles was 151 miles. That shows she misspoke there, and that's okay. So I did 63 rides, 150 miles over the course of 12 hours, and I made $764 that day. Part of that might have been part of the challenge, but this is my record right now. I've never done more than 63 rides. And doing this has enabled me to feel like the possibility of me doing 70 rides per day in order to achieve this crazy, insane ride challenge, I'm going to actually try it. This is the second time Lyft has offered me something insane like this. Last week they tried it and I was like, I'm good. I'm not going to focus in on that. But I'm confident that I can get it done and I'm going to try. I'm going to make a video about it. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that video, make sure you like this video and that you subscribe. By liking this video, it makes YouTube know that you want to see more of my content. I'll talk a little bit about what my plan is. My plan is to actually not do the entire Lyft challenge, but to also incorporate Uber into this, because Uber gave me a really good bonus as well, or quest as they call it. This one's for 70 rides and it's for $280, right? So I can do 70 rides, get $280 from Uber, and then I can come over here and Lyft and I can do just the first portion of it and get the $107 bonus for 140 rides. That will net me more money than doing just the Lyft challenge, even though I prefer doing Lyft. To me, 70 rides on Lyft feels easier than 70 rides on Uber because Lyft gives you more tools to get it done. But let's jump back over to the drivers coast to coast so we can finish up that interaction I had with them.
It said book miles 61.
So with the new point system, right? You guys know that Lyft put out a new point system, but it's only in certain markets. Did you know about that?
I don't know. You're not talking about the points you buy things with, are you?
Yes, I am talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have access to that.
So for those of you who haven't seen that yet, let me show you what it looks like. So we're back on the Lyft app. I guess I'm in the testing market for this. And in order to stay here, it's going to be so much explaining. The short version is I'm allowed to have a lower acceptance rate than I was before. And I've been able to completely abuse that, as you're about to find out how in this conversation.
And under that system, I don't know how long this will last, but I'm allowed to decline rides without it affecting my score as long as I'm on a ride. It used to be like that in the past for everyone. At some point, they changed it so that if you're on an active ride, you receive a request for another ride. If you declined it, it would impact your numbers. And then with this new system, I don't know if it's on purpose, it doesn't impact my numbers. So I'm able to be a lot more picky and look for short rides. And then on top of that, I'm able to maintain elite status as long as I keep my acceptance rate over 50% with the new system. It's going to vary based off of different markets, but previously it was 80%. So under the previous system, I had to take what they gave me more often. And with this new system, I'm able to be a lot more ruthless and like focusing on very short rides.
That's big, Tristan. That's really big.
And that's phenomenal. And question for you, assuming you didn't have those filters in your market, because I've been really fascinated with the ride challenges that they offer you. I mean, you're hitting them, which is amazing. But I think that last one this week, have you been able to hit that one? Was it 210? Was that?
Yeah, it was 210.
So he's talking about the one I just mentioned where I got the same ride challenge a week before, and whether I did or didn't do it, we're about to find out.
If I worked it, but I decided not to. I have a baby on the way and a doctor's appointment on one of the mornings. I figured that I can max do 70 during specific times. We had a festival, college students are still here. And if I worked 18 hours each day, I could have done it. I probably could have done it like 15 to 18, but I honestly could have done it, but it just becomes a question of, do you want to do it? You know?
Well, that one particular one wasn't worth it just for the differences in the, it only added, I think, under $2 a mile, but you still crush the earnings though.
I see them a little different. I do get that per mile part of it where, it could just be an extra $1 per ride if it's a lot of rides, but I'm a little more focused on the daily income. And I also know that, sometimes ride challenges do encourage me to drive, and in the act of driving, I'm making more money than I wouldn't have before. But I understand what you're saying. I generally agree with you.
No, I get it. That's a great way to look at it. It really is.
Hey, Pat.
To clarify what I'm really talking about here is, in the rideshare world, we do this weird thing where we hyper focus on mileage, like earnings per mile and earnings per hour. Maybe not even as much earnings per hour. You can sit out there all day for 10 hours, take one ride for $10 that went 1 mile. That will equate to a day of $10 per mile. But in the entire day, you only made $10. That's not what I'm focused on. I have a very specific financial goal. I'm paying off debt. There's a number associated to that. And when I'm done with that goal, there's another goal of saving up a 6-month emergency fund. That's a specific number. And when I'm done with that, it's just going to keep snowballing that way. So it is faster for me to achieve those goals by focusing on how much money I make per day. Now, of course, you want to be as efficient as possible when you're trying to hit that goal. And I think that the best way to do it is kind of organize what your markers are. So for me, how much I'm making per day, how much I'm making per mile, how much I'm making per hour, right? I don't want to sacrifice the big goal just to have better looking goals below. And I think that a big part of it, why I'm not as attached to how much I make per mile, is because my car's paid off. A lot of people have some attachments to their cars. I don't. I view my car as a thing that makes money. I have no love for my car. I mean, I enjoy it, of course, but it's very common for people to say, "Oh, I don't want to put all those miles on my car." My car is a machine that converts miles to money. That's kind of how I look at it, right? But at the end of the day, how much money I make per day is just the most important metric that I have. Just to expand on that idea a little
Sit
more.
tight. We're going to come to you next, but I have one more question for Tristan that I sort of was in up there. My question to you is in Charleston, I'm fascinated by this market because obviously it's a busy market and a lot of rides. There's certainly a lot of short rides available. What's the percentage that you've seen of rides that can keep you in that little bubble of busyness versus if you were running just naked with no filters, no area filter? How many would you say? Is it 50-50? Is it that keep you in that bubble, or is it strictly the filter that's doing that? Do you not know the percentage, let's say, of how many would take you on, let's say, a nature hike or out of the zone?
So first, I will say that I've been driving with Uber and Lyft open, and I've stopped thinking it's a Lyft market. I actually think it's kind of better here, but they just don't have the tools for me to take advantage of it as much. But as far as like surge to surge, Uber has better surges. Like Lyft surge in my market is capped at like on average $10. I saw 15 this weekend for the first time in a long time. But on Uber, it can get up to 30. It's just that it's harder to find shorter trips that keep you in the zone. With
Yeah.
Lyft,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So to answer whether
So the tools specifically that I'm referring to here is to stay within an area filter on Lyft that you can set a radius and you won't get rides that go out. And some of you are probably thinking, but Tristan, we have that on Uber. It's not the same. Depending on how your city's made up, you can go to certain regions. And if you live in a circular region, then sure, it might work for you. But that's not how it works here. You have Charleston, you have Mount Pleasant, you have West Ashley, and there can be 3 miles going across. You might want those rides, but you're not going to get it if you only pick one region. I don't know why Uber doesn't have the area filter the way Lyft does. Maybe they have a patent over it, but I would really love for Uber to get on board with that.
they're like the percentage of nature hikes versus short rides, I would say it differs time of day. If we're talking between like 5 p.m. till about maybe 7ish p.m., I can get people going 50-50. It feels 50-50. But once we're in that late night bar time frame, you have a lot of people going from one bar to another bar. Or you'll have is the older folks who live close by, who are ready to go home at 10 p.m. There'll be some of those kind of shorter rides. Some of them can be mid-range that would take me out of the area. So I would say maybe like 70% short rides, 30% can take you out. And then when the bars close down and everyone's going home at the same time, it can be 50-50. But most drivers, what I've realized, they focus on taking the quick rides first. And then at the end of the night, when there are no more quick rides to take, you're left with just nature hikes. And I usually take one of those to go home.
Okay, so I'm not going to go too much deeper into that. If you want to listen to this whole conversation, you can go and check out the Drivers Coast to Coast. I am going to copy the link and post it in chat right now. There it is. See it on the screen. Drivers Coast to Coast. They usually let any driver kind of come on and talk about whatever they want to talk about. They talk about the rides per day. They share whatever tips they're having. It's generally just a good space to be. And while you guys are over there, you might as well follow me. I love arguing and debating and things of that nature. So let's go over to my Twitter. I'm going to get my link. Follow me on Twitter. So I'll have those posted in the chats.